Hello, and welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. The big question for today's video is it time to buy cryptos yet? So let's jump into the charts. Here we're looking at the Bitcoin cycle, and I think a nice buying opportunity in Bitcoin is possibly coming up over the next several days. Firstly, zooming out and looking at the Bitcoin cycles, you will notice that usually Bitcoin cycles last for an average of around a couple of months. Of course, sometimes the duration of these cycles can either stretch or shorten a little bit. Perhaps we're going to get a somewhat short cycle this time, as the ongoing cycle is only 35 days old. Another thing that you might notice if you zoom out from the chart and study these cycles, let's switch to log chart so we can see more details, is that in most cycle lows, in let's say around 90% of cycle lows or more, the cycle low retests the 50-day moving average or drops below that 50-day moving average. And as you see, over the last week or so, Bitcoin has come already somewhat close to that 50-day moving average. Secondly, if Bitcoin does continue down to retest the 50-day moving average, which I think is pretty likely over the next few days, that will also mean that Bitcoin will be likely to poke below the Bollinger Bands. And repeated pokes below relatively wide Bollinger Bands, as I usually mention in many of my analysis, is a nice indication that at least some sort of a rally is upcoming. Next, looking at the 14-day RSI, it's at the moment at around 50. It's below 50 a little bit at 49.8. And during the previous cycle low, when Bitcoin did retest the 50-day moving average, this 14-day RSI didn't go much deeper compared to where it is right now. The lowest that the 14-day RSI came to was 42.9. So again, perhaps another several days to retest that 50-day moving average, and perhaps a retest of 62% retracement. Fibonacci retracements are also very common during these retests, and the most common retracements are either 38%, 50%, or 62% retracement. At today's low, Bitcoin came relatively close, although didn't touch yet the 50% Fibonacci retracement. I think coming close to another common 62% retracement would be a relatively attractive buying opportunity that's somewhere around $40,000. Next, let's have a look at Ethereum, and it's interesting that the Ethereum cycle is on day 64 at the moment. And similar to Bitcoin, Ethereum cycles usually last for about a couple of months, actually just a few days shorter on average than Bitcoin cycles. So Ethereum is actually already in the time band for some sort of a cycle low. And what we see on Ethereum is it's already poking several times through the lower Bollinger Bands. And it has already come down below that 50-day moving average. Although looking at the Fibonacci retracement numbers from the beginning of the ongoing cycle, while Ethereum has retraced 38% retracement, it hasn't really come that close to 50% retracement yet. But the RSI is already relatively low at only 40.3. It's already lower than it was back in the previous low, about 49.4. And zooming out a little bit, as well as switching to the log chart, shows you that the last time 14-day RSI was into oversold area was back in March 2020, when Ethereum was actually under $100. So the cycle is nearly bottoming already, and there is no guarantee that 14-day RSI will actually dip into the overbought area before we bounce, at least in the short term, into the next cycle. Whether Ethereum will make new highs in the next cycle, that remains to be seen. Perhaps the round number of $2,000 might prove to be a relatively strong resistance that might hold for a while. But the ongoing cycle is probably close to finishing over the next few days. Let's have a look at some more very useful indicators. Before we continue, let me remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and click that bell notification. Thanks a lot. Starting at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, which is currently at 55, and it dropped from all the way above 90 just in a few days. Looking at the one-year history of this Fear and Greed Index, you will see that it's rare that this Fear and Greed Index drops far below 40. The last time it did it was in, again, March 2020, when Ethereum was under $100 and Bitcoin was under $5,000. So there is no guarantee again that this fear and greed index will drop below 40. And we are probably relatively close to the cycle low. Next very useful indicator is the discount or premium on the Grayscale GBTC fund as well as the ETH fund. When the premiums are low, that's when people don't want to buy these Grayscale cryptocurrency funds. And when the masses don't want to buy something, when the masses are selling it, that's when a nice buying opportunity arises. And what do you know? Over the last year, this is the first time that these premiums have actually turned into a discount. And although these discounts can go even further into negative territory, I think again we are pretty close to a bottom. Same with the Ethereum discounts, they're currently at -5%, while Bitcoin discounts are close to -4%. Next, let's have a look at the Bitcoin optimism index. And you see that, yes, sometimes this optimism index drops far below this green line when everybody is really afraid, when there is really no optimism on Bitcoin. But often cycle lows come when this optimism index is merely close to this green line, and we are already relatively close to that green line. So perhaps another few days, perhaps a poke below that green line will give us the upcoming cycle low. Next, let's have a look at market depth ratio. That's basically a ratio of buy versus sell orders. And a large ratio of buy limit orders appearing on a range of cryptocurrency exchanges might eventually push the price higher, which is the gray line over here. Sometimes this indicator can actually be a bit of a leading indicator. With these blue hats that I've crudely drawn over here, you see that they kind of tend to come sometimes a bit earlier than the actual lows on the price chart. This chart is a 3-month view. Let's zoom into the 1-month view. Again, perhaps sometimes, not always, this indicator is a bit of a leading indicator. So green area is again building up another blue hat over here, and if it turns out to be a leading indicator again, our price low is possibly coming up just over the next few days. Over the last few months, with the members at myfinancesteacher.org, we've done amazingly well investing into Bitcoin and Ethereum. We also look at a range of other more traditional assets such as precious metals, general stock market, energy, other commodities, and so on. So if you want more detailed and more frequent analysis on a range of those assets, consider joining us by clicking this register button. The first month is only $5 and it's only $10 per month after that. And even before you join us at myfinancesteacher.org, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. I wish you a nice upcoming weekend and good luck in your trades.